Welcome everyone to Intelligent Voices. This is your brother Yisrael Yeshombiyah. Today we will be talking about a series of things that is going on right now, which is Israel's 9 wars and the complete siege. As we see in Israel, that's what's going on right now. So today we will be talking about that, and I will be breaking it down. As you know, we always give everyone a minute or two to have that prayer before we begin. So we will start with that minute or two to give everyone the opportunity to have that prayer before we begin. Shalom, 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 shalom. All right. Did you know that the Bible contains prophecies about 9 wars in the end time? That's right. There's a total of 9 wars that in prophecy that Yah has spoken in the Bible that many have missed or have been misinformed only about the Armageddon. And here it is of that war, but then about the war of, here it is, Yah's return, and then we got another war between Israel, and here it is, which stems a war all the way into the United States. So here it is, the wars of the end time. So here it is, this is what we're talking about today here at Intelligent Voices Israelites. And I am your brother Yeshombiyah, and your host who have brought this presentation is Yisrael. So we give thanks to my wife, and here it is. As we begin, we're talking about these 9 wars that will occur and that are occurring right now. That fact comes as a shock to most people, but it shouldn't be a shock any longer once your brother here, Yeshombiyah, here at Intelligent Voices Israelites, enlighten everyone today. So now for the overview of all 9 wars, now we are seeing here this overview of 9 wars the Bible says will occur in the end times. I have discovered, here it is, over the years that most are very surprised to learn that the war of Armageddon, that's right, is not the only end times war. That's right. I spent most of my time last week discussing this, and here it is as I'm bringing this to you today, everyone. Brothers and sisters, tune in. Get whatever you need, take notes, because here it is, you're going to want to take all the information that you're about to hear here at Intelligent Voices Israelites, because here it is, right now, there is a beginning of this war, of these 9 wars, starting right now. So that's right. As we see prophesied in Ezekiel 38 chapter, and also Ezekiel 39 chapter. Read all of those, because now if you missed that presentation, this will bring you right up closely on to what I'm talking about here. So now concerning those first 2 wars, it's my conclusion, here it is, that both of them are most likely to occur, okay, before the tribulation. That's right. Before the tribulation begins. Now, I'm talking about Psalms 83 war. That's right. Now, when we look here it is, which is an Arab war to annihilate Israel. Now, what's going on now in Israel with HAMAS is just the beginning, which I had said or stated earlier. That is the start of the 9 wars that is to come. So here it is. After that little war, here it is, which is not a little war, will initiate the 9th or the 9 wars. Here it is. Because here it is, as we see in Psalms 83, here it is, it's an Arab war to annihilate Israel. So they use this small war between Hamas right now and Israel to actually come in behind them, okay, to invade Israel and Jerusalem at the same time. And then we might also see, as what the Bible have stated, Damascus will be also attacked, which is basically within Tel Aviv, okay, of Israel. So now could occur at any moment, okay? There's not one prophecy that has to be fulfilled. Because here it is, you don't see what's going on between Hamas and Israel right now, but you knew that there was tension between the Philistines and Israel, right? So here it is, it proves the point that here it is, this was just the starter war to the 9 wars that I'm finna talk about here at Intelligent Voices Israelites. Now, going back to what I said about Ezekiel 38 and 39, those wars, this is the first and this is the second war after the Arab War, which is the Psalms 83 war, which starts after the Hamas and Israel war. They come in. So now here it is, called the War of Gog and Magog. Many of you scholars may have heard of the Gog and Magog war. Now containing, here it is, in the Bible, which cannot occur until Israel is living in peace, right? They have to be living in peace, right? So that hasn't occurred yet, because here it is, we're already looking at the first 2 wars, starting from the starter war, right? That initiated the 9, which we are in, which is giving you a little head of time to see that here it is, after this Hamas and Israel war, which will therefore start the Psalm 83 war, which is Arab war with Israel. And here it is, we got Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39 war, which is the Gog and Magog war, which is now that I am speaking of, which cannot occur until Israel is living in peace, which is not yet occurred, which is likely to be the first or the result of Israel winning the Psalms 83 war, which is between Arab and Israel, right? So now we're seeing how and why many of Germany and all of these other, Iran, them would later come after this, here it is, to help those failures out, which would therefore start surrounding Israel now, and that's the Gog and the Magog war. Now here it is, as we see, which is likely to result in them winning that Psalms 83 war. Now, we will begin with the review of 4 wars. Now, as we understand here, the first war of Israeli is extermination. Here it is, because as we see now, Arab have failed their war in the Psalms 83. Now we're seeing that now we got Russia and Iran and all these other nations coming against Israel. And this is the war of, here it is, Israeli extermination, as we've seen in the Bible. Here it is, described in Psalms 83. All right, and now in 83, it states that the immediate neighbors, okay, of Israel will launch a war for the purpose of wiping out Israel, here it is, as a nation, everybody. So now we are understanding why all these other nations come after the Arab war have failed, which is in the Psalms 83. And now you're seeing the Gog and the Magog war start to build up against Israel. And now why the United States would most likely be involved, because anyone that's protecting Israel is basically at war with her enemies. Okay? So the nations described here, here it is, are being a part of a nefarious, evil nation. Those with a common border with Israel, okay? So these will be the ones that is attacking her, right? Coming from around these other nations, including Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and Gaza. All of these with a common border with Israel. So now you can see why they would come and try to help out Arab who failed their war in Psalms 83. Here it is. Because now they calling on their backers, which is their allies. And here it is, these other nations would come against Israel. Now this is the second half of Psalms 83 and is a prayer for Israel or Israel victory. Now understand the Psalms 83 scripture that Israel will be victorious. For the example is shown here as we see it in Zechariah chapter 12 verse 6. Now I give everybody a minute to get to Zechariah chapter 12 verse 6. And it clearly allows us to see that in the end times, it says, Israel will be like a fire pot, right? Among pieces of wood, and a flaming torch among sheaves, so that they will consume on the right hand and on the left all of the surrounding people. See that? So it's like a ripple effect. Once something ignites and starts to burn, it's said that therefore it is burning like a fire pot among pieces of wood, right? And then it says out of this fire pot causes flames, which it says a flaming torch among sheaves. Sheaves is basically like little withered grass, okay? You ever heard of brush fires? They say, therefore, cut your hedges. Make sure you don't have no leaves, dry leaves laying there. So that was sheaves, okay? So here it is, a flaming torch amongst sheaves. So if somebody put a lighter to some sheaves or any type of paper or anything, it's going to burn, right? It's going to spread. He says, so that they will consume on the right hand and on the left all the surrounding people. So that means sheaves are set on fire and it's burning up the whole area or whatever can be burned. So now here it is, the surrounding people. And then it says they are going to be like David against Goliath. That's right. This war of annihilation will boomerang on the Arab nation, right? And will result in their overwhelming defeat, producing great territorial expansion. Did I just say that? Because they called on their cousins. Because that Psalm 83 war, they lost. Them Arabs lost against Israel. So they called for reinforcements, right? And this will result in them to defeat and producing a great territorial expansion. Enhance national resources for Israel, and yes, peace for Israel, right? So now here it is. Now as we see this, it is during this war, everyone, my brothers and sisters, that Israel will most likely, here it is, destroy Damascus. That's right. In fulfillment of prophecy, which says that in the end times, that's right, it's in the scriptures, everyone, Damascus will be destroyed and it will never be built again, right? So now we understand why Zechariah 12:6 says what it says. And then now we're understanding that Psalms 83 war would not last long, right? Because right now we see Hamas and Israel fighting. Then I state earlier before we got into the study after prayer that it will not be long for that to be over, okay? So right after that, Psalms 83 came in, which was the Arabs trying to move in on the cognizance of that little small starter war. But they lost. So then they had to go call for backup, which is their cousins, right? And now here it is. The Arab nations will turn to their natural ally, Russia, friends, and cry out for helps, resulting in the first war of the Gog and Magog war. That's right. So now I'm telling you, there's 9. Everybody only heard of the Armageddon, and maybe some, like I said, some scholars maybe heard of the Gog and Magog, but they never heard of there's 9. There's a starter war, and then there's the start of the 9, okay? Which the first 83, Psalms 83, Arab war was the sneak in the Arabs tried to do behind the Hamas war that's going on right now, okay? And they're going to come in behind them, but here it is, they going to get defeated, and now they got to call on their cousins, which I just named them all, okay? And now here it is, Russia is now going to come in and help the Arab nation restore their dignity. You see? So now as we see this here, this described the first Gog and Magog war, described in Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39. This is where Russia comes down against Israel with certain Pacific, here it is, Muslim allies, right? Now in Hamas, Philistines, them are Muslims. And what you hear on the news, they kidnapping people, right? It's like the return of ISIS, right? So now here it is, now you get the identity to who or what is going on, because here it is, the Russians will be delighted to respond to the Arabs' cry for the help that they need, because they have always dreamed of taking over oil fields. That's right, brothers and sisters, of the Middle East. Of the Middle East. So you're seeing that this has nothing to do with Israel outright. This has something to do with a plan. See? Because the Arabs going to get themselves into a mess. You see? And they're going to need help. And that's going to come with a fee. We want y'all oil. Saudi and Saudi, they control oil, right? So they don't have to get that up to the Russians. So the Middle East going to become owned by the Russians, which affects the Americas. Because you buy gas, right? Now you understand why everybody trying to go electric, right? They will therefore launch an invasion for the state purpose of helping the Muslims destroy Israel. That's right. This is the involved, here it is, ally outer ring, okay, of Muslim states that surround Israel, all but Saudi Arabia. That's right. Because you got to remember, Russia just stepped in for them. So they won't actually lose their state, but it'll be under arrest by Russia. So now here it is. The real motivation would be to use the Arab invitation, right, as an excuse to expand their sovereignty over all the Middle East. Here it is. This alterative move is described in, here it is, Ezekiel. Everybody get your book. Ezekiel chapter 38, okay, verse 12 through 21, where it says the Russians will come to capture spoils and to seize and plunder. So now you understand your brother Yisrael Yeshombiyah when just referring you to read chapters for no reason, but here it is. I'm going to give you why Ezekiel 38 is included. Why you need to read all of it though. But here it is. I'm giving you the sneak peek in verse 12 through 21, because here it is. They want to take over all of the Middle East. And now here it is in Ezekiel 38, 12, verse 21. The Russians, you see, come to capture spoils. The invading armies will be supernaturally destroyed, though, by Yahweh himself. Okay? On the mountains of Israel, and here it is, he says, there will be through destructions of earthquakes, pestilence, hail, fire, right? Brimstone, battlefield confusion. And then he says, even Jewish people will recognize that the victory belongs to Yahuwah. And it will open many of their hearts to Yahweh. That's right. Mystery concerning this war is its timing, everybody, my brothers and sisters. Most have placed it at the beginning of the tribulation. Others have delayed it to the middle of the tribulation. But here it is. It's before the beginning of the tribulation. You see this? The Bible does not say for sure when it will occur, but we can say that war will occur, as we see. Now, this war will start before the tribulation. Now, we understand that the tribulation lasts 7 years, right? Now, when we look at Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 9, we clearly see what? It says here that the Jews will spend 7 years burning the weapons that they capture in that war, likely nuclear or for nuclear fuel. Here it is. But they are going to be burning weapons that they capture in that war for 7 years. Revelations 12 tells us that 3.5 years into the tribulation, right? The Jews will be evicted from the land by the anti-Yahweh. And most will flee to Jordan. Therefore, the only way the Jews could spend 7 years burning the weapons, though, right, is for the war to begin 3.5 years before the start of the tribulation, right? So now it gets us to understand why Hamas in Israel is a starter war, right? Because here it is, as we see, 1 and 2 haven't started yet because the Arabs haven't came to try to invade Israel yet, right? So now this is allowing you to see your brother Yeshombiyah is showing you what's about to happen before it happens, which is Yah himself, right? So now you're seeing right there, I just proved what is going on right now with Hamas in Israel and what's about to happen right after this, because I just proved that it's not going away, this war. So now as we see this here, this is allowing you to understand that these nations, this fighting that is going on right now have been going on, but your news haven't been showing you any news coverage of what's been going on in Israel, all around Israel, as I named the neighbors, Lebanon, Syria, okay? But here it is. They're going to give you the news as it got to the last of those 3.5 years of their fighting, which is now taking you into the 9 that you never knew nothing about, which your brother now is showing you. So now here it is. This war of Psalms 83 and Ezekiel war 38 and 39 must have occurred before, here it is, any rapture. The rapture can occur at any moment before or during or after this war, right? But here it is. You now understand what's going to cause the fall of a lot of people, which is the 144,000. Because here it is, we're looking at Muslims taking over, okay? But here it is, it's allowing you to know after these wars, keep in mind that the rapture is not what starts the tribulation. That's right. The tribulation will begin when the anti-Yahweh signs a security treaty with Israel. That's right. A period of several years between the time of the beginning of the tribulation, what we're talking about right now, these 9 wars. We got the elections rolling all at once into this whole era of the tribulations, coming out of these wars and in the beginning, out of the start of wars and into the beginning of the 9 final completed siege wars. Okay? So now when we look here, we see that this here is allowing us to know the beginning of the tribulation. And this is taking us right into the 3rd war. This brings us to the 3rd end time war. Okay, because we got 9 we're talking about. So we out of 2 and into what? Now we're going into the 3rd one. And here it is. We see that the war of the tribulation mentioned in Revelations chapter 6. Although the anti-Yahweh is going to rise to power in Europe, right? Because here it is, through cunning and deceptions in his charismatic personality, he will have to resort to military power, right? Keep in mind, to conquer the world, right? So he will have to have Asia, Africa, and Latin America, right? And here it is, European colonialism, or colonism, sorry. They are not suddenly going to turn around to some European leader, right? All these people want power, so that he knows it's not going to be easy. And then here it is, they are going to resist any leader who raises to power in Europe, regardless of how brilliant, and here it is, how charismatic he may be. Because we see here, we are told in Revelation chapter 13, verse 7, that the anti-Yahweh will earthly achieve authority over every tribe and people and tongue, right? And nations. And this authority will be achieved through war. That's what we're talking about. This is what's going on, everybody. So now we're seeing here in Revelation 6 records the outbreak of this war. Okay? So now if we're in the 3rd war, we know it's going to have a ripple effect with Europe, which is America as a part of Britain, right? All of Europe, and here it is, all of Americas. It results in the death of 1/4 of humanity. Okay? Because didn't we just see that Hamas is kidnapping people? So now if this is a ripple effect, we just had a whole bunch of people come in as immigrants all around the world, in New York City, all everywhere, and mostly were men, which could be Hamas, could be Muslims, could be terrorists. So now here it is, who can now do the same ripple effect that started the effect in the first place. So now here it is. Now 1/4 of humanity. Now, at the beginning of the tribulation, 1.5 billion people would die. Wow. And this is called the seal of judgment, as this is the 3rd war, everyone. Now, to review the wars of Psalm 83 results in the destructions of the inner ring of the Muslim states around Israel. That is Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Gaza. And now as we see here, what comes out of this war, which is Ezekiel 38, chapter 38 and chapter 39, which results in the destruction of the outer ring, which is Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Algeria, and Tunisia. So now here it is. Both the inner ring and the outer ring are destroyed in these two wars. Because we just had 1 and 2, and now we had 3. So here it is. It destroys these other 2 wars, right? In other words, what I know is going to happen, my brothers and sisters, is that Yah is going to use the anti-Yahweh as the hammer of wrath to destroy the Islams or the Islamics nation in the Middle East. Now understand this. Muslims are the largest nation, okay, in the world, and not in the Middle East only. The largest Muslim nations are Indonesia with 200 million, India with 175 million, Pakistan 140 million, Balistan 115 million. Now, those are big Muslim nations of the world, my brothers and sisters, none of which are in the Middle East, okay? Which is now bringing us right into the 4th war. Here it is, Revelations chapter 8 and Revelations chapter 9. Here it is, which is a nuclear war of the tribulation. That's right. What happens here in the book of Revelation is that the conventional war started by the anti-Yahweh begins to morph. Remember I said ripple effect? Into a nuclear resulting in death. So this can be biochemistry, okay? Of 1/3 of those left alive, okay? And another 1.5 billion, okay? Added on to what we just counted earlier. So now we're up to 2.6 some billion people dead out of these wars. By the middle of the tribulation, 3 billion people will die in 3.5 years of this tribulation. Okay? Goodbye, pre-rapture people, right? That's 1/2 of all humanity who is going to die in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. Now, I've preached all the time. Call me and say, they'll call me and say and ask me, people, friends you might know, and when is the rapture? When is the tribulation? They'll say. Let me tell you, everybody, if we was in the tribulations, my brothers and sisters, you will know it. You will definitely know it. You wouldn't have to ask anybody, no pastors, no preachers, nobody, no wives, nobody, no husbands. Is we in the tribulation? That's right, because you will know it. This is a nuclear war. It's going to turn into a biohazardous war. Hence that this conventional war is going to become a nuclear one, because many brothers and sisters say, well, why you say it might be a nuclear one? Huh? What tell you that, brother Yisrael, Yeshombiyah? Let's go to Revelation chapter 8 and look at verses 7, everybody. And watch. Why? Because everything I say here in Intelligent Voices Israelites is the truth, because it's coming from the Bible. Nothing we do here will actually tell anyone the opposite. So now as we hear in Revelations 8 verse 7, it clearly says the escalation of the war, which means the proceeding of the war of the beginning ones, will lead into a war that will result in 1/3 of the earth being what? It says burned up. 1/3 of the earth being burned. That sounds like what? Nuclear or biotech weaponry. Okay? Another hint is found in Revelation chapter 16. Right at the end of Revelations, at the end of the tribulation, where we're told, here it is, where people will have swords will afflict people all over the earth at the end of the tribulation. See that? So now this is telling us here in Revelation chapter 16, verse 21, clearly, that's radiation. Okay? Yah speaks of boils coming on your face, right? That's radiation. Atomic weapons or bioweapons, nuclear holocaust was what Yeshua had in mind. You see this? He said that in the end times, men will faint from fear over the expectations of the things coming up on the world. Woo! He said the powers of the heavens will be shaken. So now we understand this book of Revelation chapter 8 and 9 as a series of trumpets and judgments. Right, brothers and sisters? So now that takes us deeply right into the fifth war, which is the war in heavens between the spiritual angels and the devil Halil. Okay? This is the supernatural war. This is the fifth war. Okay? So we're coming out of the fourth into the fifth. And now we're understanding, here it is, this supernatural war in the heavens in the middle of the tribulations. Remember, Yeshua said there's 7 years of the tribulation, but 3.5 of them. This is where we at. So it's not no peace and harmony, as you can see as I'm pointing out. There's no rapture either. Okay? So all you church folks, Christians, you can see this. You're in a tribulation, which is not a good time. Okay? So now here it is. This supernatural war that will be going on with Yah, Michael, and the angels will also be taking place in the middle, here it is, of this tribulation. Here it is, by an attempt of Satan to take the throne of Yah one last time. Remember, Satan said, I will make my throne above you, Yah, above the stars. So this is that war, the fifth war that's going on in the middle of the tribulation. So we see that this is an attempt for Satan to fight against the angels of heaven. And here it is, Satan and his angels will be opposed, my brothers and sisters, by angel Michael and all the archangels with Michael. Because here it is, Yah is cutting off Satan's or Halil's access to the heavens. In his rage, Satan decides to destroy what? When he falls from this war, which is the fifth war in the heavens with Michael and his angels, he falls again back to the earth. But now he's going to turn his anger towards the people of Israelites. Yah chosen people under the new covenant. Right? So now this takes us into the sixth war. The next war is the war against the Israelites. Here it is. Against the Israelis. That's right. Those who call themselves Jews. Here it is. And also against the Israelite people in the land scattered among the four corners of the earth. Here it is. He launches. This is what's happened after he fall from that battle, that fifth one. Now here it is. We're in the sixth war. He done failed. Now he turning his anger on all the children of Israelites and also the Israeli Jews. He launches an attack. And here it is. The anti-Yahweh launches this war in the second half of the tribulation. Okay? This is going into the 42 months. So this is for all the brothers and sisters who didn't go out with the 144,000 earlier. These are the 1/3 who therefore would denounce themselves and not have the chip. Here it is. But there he will be killing every, here it is, Israeli Jew on the planet Earth and their Christian, here it is, defenders. So that's the 1/3. So here it is. He says he hates them because they are the chosen people of Yah, or they are the return chosen of Yah. Okay? Because through them, Yah gave the world the scriptures. Because through them, Yah gave the world the Messiah Yah, right? Because Yah has promised over and over, right, everyone? In his word that one day he is going to bring a great remnant, a new covenant people, right? To salvation in Yeshua, right? To be the Messiah, here it is, to be redeemed under. Woo! So now we see here as we go into the 7th war, okay? There is going to be another Holocaust, my brothers and sisters. And this is the reason that Yeshua refers to the last half of the tribulation as the Great Tribulation, as we see in Matthew's book 24, okay? Chapter. Now, here it is, their complete annihilation from the planet. Some of the Israeli Jews who are in Israel and in Jerusalem will flee to a place in the wilderness, as the Bible says, where they will be supernaturally protected by Yah, right? In this city, as we know, have read, many of us have understood that the ancient city of Petra, right? And for that reason, here it is, this is the assumption that we can take from the book of Daniel as fact, chapter 11, verse 41. As it says here in Daniel, the anti-Yahweh will be prevented from conquering Jordan when that part of the world rebels against him at the end of his reign. But despite this supernatural protection in Jordan, okay, that Yah will provide, as we see in Zechariah chapter 13, verses 8, as it clearly says that the 2/3 or the 2/3 of the Israeli Jews and people worldwide that have returned under Yah's real name and no other name will be killed by the anti-Yahweh at this time. Okay? Because remember, they're going to have a one world religion at this time. Okay? And that means mixing all deities as one deity. Okay? Yah says, here it is, he forbid that, right? So here it is, these brothers worldwide will be killed by the anti-Yahweh at this time. That will be a Holocaust greater than the Nazi Holocaust. Okay? Because Daniel chapter 11, verse 40 and verse 45 explains that. Okay? And then as we go over to Revelations, we clearly see chapter 12, verse 7 says the anti-Yahweh will also war against the offsprings of Israel, right? Namely, those who keep the commandments of Yah and hold to the testimony of Yeshua, which is the law, keeping the law, right? In love. So then, all those who accept Yeshua as Almighty and Savior, Yahweh, during the tribulation, both Jew, here it is, and here is non-Jew, which is Israeli and Gentile. Here it is, he says, Revelation chapter 7 pictures a Savior During the tribulation, both Jew and Gentile, here it is, will be, here it is, be taken care of, right? Because here in Revelation chapter 7, here it is, it pictures a great multitude of murders. So what I'm saying is, we are still looking at wars, everyone, where here it is, you got the Gog and Magog war going on. You got the nations against nations war going on. And now here it is, you have the people dying, laying all over the place, both good and bad, okay? And this is some of the 1/3. Because remember, the 144,000 already gone. So we're talking about the 1/3 that's in this 7th war time, which is at the last 42 months, okay? So now what we are looking at, we're seeing that is clearly allowing us to understand the identity that as those coming out of the great tribulation who have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. The anti-Yahweh will be very successful in his war against the Jews and the saints, but he will fail in his ultimate goal of annihilating Israelites. Okay? That's right. For we are told repeatedly throughout the scriptures that a great remnant, or here it is, a chosen, here it is, of a few will live to the end of the tribulation. Right? They will look upon him whom they have pierced. And here it is. And here it is. Cry out from the depths of their true hearts. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Okay? And now, this is still the 7th war, though. Okay? We're now in the last 42 months still. And you're now, brothers and sisters, getting the opportunity to see what's going on. And be able to see a picture in your mind. The Middle East campaign of the anti-Yahweh. As we see in Daniel chapter 11, as we have read in 40 and 45, and it describes the end of the tribulation. But then we see in Revelations could very well indicate that when the anti-Yahweh becomes absolute insanely obsessed with destroying, here it is, the Israelites and the Israeli Jews, the world see the opportunity, here it is, to rebel against him. That's what happens. And then here it is, the Middle East will be led by the king of the north, and it could be possibly Syria, as far as Syria. And those also to be led by the king of the south, probably Egypt. And Daniel says that when this rebels occur, right, that the anti-Yahweh would come into what he calls the beautiful land to put down this terrible rebellion. And then we see here it is, except Jordan, because remember, Israelis flee. They end up going and hiding out in Petra. And this usually starts almost at the last end of the first half of the tribulation, going into the last period of the tribulation, which we're speaking of now, of the 7th war. So now here it is, rumors from the east and rumors from the north, here it is, will deeply, here it is, threaten this Antichrist or anti-Yahweh. And between the seas where he will come to his end, here it is, armies out of the east will come, maybe that 200 million army mentioned in Revelations. And he says, an army out of the north will come, possibly the armies of Gog and Magog, a Russian, reconstituted, and that, here it is, which occurs, or which of course would be the valley of Armageddon. Going back to what I was speaking of earlier. So Armageddon. So now this brings you up to the speed of where most people knowledge is at. They have heard of Armageddon, that war of Gog and Magog. But now, as you have seen, I just proved that there is 9, and here it is, you're already in the 7th war. So if you only heard of 1, that means 6 of them you never heard of, which I just proved. So now we're going into the 8th war here. Now, which is called, here it is, the Battle of Armageddon. And it's also mentioned in Joel chapter 3. And it's mentioned in Zechariah chapter 14. In Revelations chapter 19 for all those who might want to catch up, right? So now here it is. These are armies from the east and the north. Here it is, which is arriving in the valley of Armageddon to challenge, here it is, with the anti-Yahweh, that the Almighty breaks from heaven. It is, as we know, Hillel fell again because he got defeated by Michael's angels. Okay, he fell again, and that's why he turned on the offsprings. Okay, so now here it is. He arrives on Mount of Olives. Here it is in Israel. He speaks a supernatural word. This is Yah. This is the 8th war against the anti-Yahweh. He speaks a supernatural word, and all of the armies are instantly destroyed. There's no battle, right? Because as we see in this chapter, Yeshua doesn't lead an army out to fight the Antichrist. That happened already with Michael when they cut off Hillel's, the devil's access, right? So now this war is basically now being taken up by the anti-Yahweh with Yahweh, right? But here it is, we see a supernatural word is spoken, okay? So now here it is, and now he will speak, and the anti-Yahweh and his forces will drop dead in their tracks. As we see in Joel chapter 3, verse 16, everyone, my brothers and sisters. It says that the Almighty will roar from Zion, utter his voice, right, from Jerusalem. That's what it says in Joel. Now in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 16, watch what it says. It says the results will be a wasting, here it is, disease. Zechariah 14. Remember I said these books earlier? Verse 12 says that it will be a plague. See that? A plague that the Almighty will speak. You see that? And it will, here it is, cause their sockets and their tongues will rot in their mouths, right? And here it is, cause the flesh of the soldiers to rot while they stand on their feet. Wow. And it says, and the blood will be as deep as horses' brittle. Here it is, or here it is, up to where you sit down at, for a distance 200 miles. So this is not no battle, right? So now we understand we are in now war 8. So now you have heard of Armageddon, and here it is, it leaves you now 6 of them that you hadn't heard of, right? So now you got 7, and now this is 8. So now this is allowing us to know mercifully and joyfully the battle of Armageddon will be followed by 1,000 years of peace. And here it is, Yeshua reign from Jerusalem results in the world being filled with peace, right? Righteousness, justice, here it is. Swords will be bent into plowshares, hooks, the judgment will be over, I'm sorry. And here it is, the wolf will dwell with the lamb, little children will play with snakes, here it is, or dangerous creatures, and not be harmed, because they will no longer be poisonous. Here it is. Jerusalem will be lifted up as the highest place on the planet Earth, right? Yeshua will reign as the Almighty of Almighty, him and his priests. Here it is. And we also know everyone will be glorified in their bodies, all the Israelites. And then we know the multitudes will come from the earth to see, here it is, the kingdom of the Most High, right? Because we read that. His glory will go out throughout the whole world. The blessings of Yah will flow through. Here it is. And now we understand that in the end of all closure, Satan will be bound. Sin and crime will greatly be removed, right? Shalom, shalom. Amen. A great population explosion. Here it is. During the millennium. Here it is. A recreated explosion. To believe in Yahshua. Here it is. And now we're understanding that this all comes from the 8th war. Now, the Bible makes it that most will not make it. Okay? As we know by now, most will not make it. And here it is. There will be rebellion in the hearts of most people who didn't make it. That resentment in the hearts of those people, our family, our friends, our associates, our co-workers, people we might have known in the church before we left. This is basically, here it is, allowing us to see this was all resentment they had in their hearts. In the midst of a perfect reign of Yahweh acceptance. So now, because he is going to rule with a rod of, here it is, iron, the Father, making it possible for us to live in a perfect kingdom. He would give the law, okay? He enforced us who will be reigning with Yeshua in our new glorified bodies, here it is, to also be without any sin. But then here it is, those living in the flesh would deeply resent the fact that they cannot freely pursue their worldly lusts because they will have that sin nature in them. They know that if they step out of line, there will be instant arrest, instant trial, instant punishments, no appeal, because every person ruling will have the mind of Yahweh. So all sin will be gone from them. Okay? No more cunning like the devil was. Justice will be swift. Okay? Justice will be certain. Why? Justice will be sure. Okay? And so, as we see, it's all about we who love Yeshua. And here it is, others who don't will always try to find a reason at the judgment. But see, all of the judgment will be gone. This is in the 8th war, okay? Because we know after the tribulation, Yeshua called the rest of the 1/3 up. We just read it. They get new robes, okay? And washed clean. So now we're having a party while our Father, here it is basically judging the rest of the people who are basically being killed and who had resentment in their heart. Okay? So now we're seeing why that's an 8th war. Because here it is, the 9th war now coming. And this is when Satan is released at the end of the millennium. The majority of those in the flesh will unite in one last great rebellion against Yah. And now here it is, the 9th war at the end times, the second battle of Gog and Magog we seen, and the second battle of Gog and Magog we seen. The rebellious people of the world we seen, led again by the Gog and Magog we seen, will result against Yeshua and try to overthrow themselves, overthrow Yah we seen. And we seen Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 we talked about, right? And here it is, we also know there are 2 different wars, because now we're seeing that some people only had the knowledge of Armageddon only. 1 war. But we just understood and proved that there's 2 wars, which was the other half that you didn't even know you had. Because here it is, if you only had 1, you're missing a whole lot of more. That's 8 that you was missing. So that just brought you to knowledge to actually show you how everything is going to happen. In Revelations 19, we have the Russians with all the world coming against Yahweh. We talked about that, right? Now, one of the many purposes of the millennial, and the purpose of one of the most important, is for Yah to prove to mankind that man has inherent sin nature, right? And that it can only be redeemed by the righteous spirit through the faith of Yahweh. That's right. The religion of Satan has always been humanism. The belief in man teaches only man to inherit good, and man is capable of perfection through education and social justice, saying that man can be his higher self. And the humanists, therefore, believe that if society can be perfect, man can be transformed, and man can be perfect. But the Bible teaches that mankind is, here it is, fatally flawed. That's right. With a sin nature that makes people naturally, here it is, evil. That's right. And the Bible teaches that the only solution to the problem is the transformation of the spirit that begins when the person accepts Yahweh, here it is, as the only Almighty Savior. Yah will prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt when he puts all of, here it is, humankind into a perfect society for 1,000 years, right? And mankind will respond, here it is, with rebellion. So he's making sure that never happens again. And again, the second war, Gog and Magog, will be the last war of history. Yah will take the redeemed. He will place us in a new Jerusalem. He is now preparing. He will then consume the earth with fire to burn away the pollution of Satan's last revolt, and out of the fiery inferno, here it is, which is called hell. And here it is, the new kingdom or new heaven and a new earth. This earth redeemed, this earth refreshed, this earth perfect. He will then lower the redeemed down to this new earth inside the new Jerusalem. And he will come to earth to live in their presence internally. Right? Internal peace is coming, my brothers and sisters. And here it is, war is going to be gone forever. This hope of humanity, spiritual humanity, will not be achieved by diplomats. Okay? It will be a gift of Yah, that's right, through Yeshua Yahweh, and it will allow us who are high priests, who died to redeem, here it is, ourselves under his spirit. Now, as we see, we are coming to a close. I have a few more notes that I would like to read out here in Intelligent Voices Israelites. So now, I hope many of you have taken this into your wisdom of knowledge, because this is Israel 9 Wars, the complete siege. And today this study is being brought to you for informational purposes. So therefore you can take this wisdom, and therefore you'll know exactly what is going on. Because if you're not keeping your eyes on the news, you're really behind. And if many of our brothers and sisters who don't or cannot afford cable and so on, then here it is. This channel is being able to be assistance to you, to be your news, to allow you to know exactly what is going on and how long of a time period you have. So that way you can make sure that you can get yourself right with Yeshua, because this is real stuff, and this is real situations. And now, as I will come to a close here, the fundamental purpose is to bring people to repentance, okay? And so that everyone can have the chance to be saved. And to understand that will take us into 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, as I took notes ahead of you. We are told that the only reason Yeshua Yahweh has returned is because Yah wishes for his people to be saved. Yah does not wish that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But many, if not most, will perish. It is Yah's perfectness in us who accept him, who will be made perfect and will be saved. And now, as we know, this is his permissive will. He allows people to be lost as they reject him, and his son, as he allowed people to be saved who received him and his son. So with the closing of that, I thank everyone for tuning in here at Intelligent Voices Israelites. I am your brother Yisrael, Yeshombiyah. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, sharing, and being forth with the wisdom to continue your blessings. Shalom, shalom.